Welcome back to Roo and the 15th, heading into round 3 of the NRL season. Been an enormous first 2 weeks, and we've got an absolute stack coming your way today. A couple of new topics, a new game we're going to introduce each and every week, which my fly is doing overtime, keeping itself under control. Very excited. TJ, how be thee?
Yeah, better now, thinking about your fly.
Oh, yeah.
Working overtime. But, yeah, great week of footy. Stoked that the Roosters got the win. My DMs wouldn't have survived the night had it gone the other way. And, seeing AJ get the record, it was sort of like everyone won, mainly the Roosters. But
you certainly divided Sydney last week, mate.
Yeah, look, someone's got to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bit of a flat rivalry, as we all know. So someone had to start the fire.
Who'd you play last week? Visiting team, was it?
Visiting team, that's right.
I love it. I think it's fucking hilarious.
I think it's funny too. I think it's fun. It gets funnier that there's been like sanctions and shit as well. I reckon. Like, there has to be. Like, it's, I'd probably crack the shits if they did it. So it's good.
Well, I was about to say, when the game was on live, I was watching with Beck's old man, who's a South Sydney diehard, and when I showed it to him, even he laughed. I was like, okay, this is great chat.
Yeah,
this is unreal. I'm all for it. If you're having a look about it, shut the fuck up. It's hilarious. I'm a huge fan. Joining us once again, speaking of huge fans, Winston Neville. How are you, mate?
I'm good.
I did notice Vegas training shirt.
Yes.
I like it.
Thank you. I'm running out of different Bulldog shirts to wear on the show because I've been here enough times now. But yeah, happy to be here.
I saw some new kits go up last night when I got home. The Canterbury Bulldogs.
You stitched me up because while I was here, the Dogs dropped new merch, so I might never be on beers and break. I know. I might never do beers and break evens again. But new warm-up tee, training jerseys out, caught one.
How good. I like the training jersey in Vegas when they ran out. I thought of you live when they came out at the captain's run. I thought, I haven't seen this before. I wonder if this one's new. Are they available yet?
The pink one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're up. I appreciated all the footage you sent me of it. I was in a hotel room having fun. It was good.
Can I ask you, is there any Bulldogs merch ever that you haven't bought because you've just been like, I don't rate it? What do you have?
In recent memory, no. I feel like they've done a really good job recently. But then if you go back to like 2020, 2021, it was a bit more average back then.
He's pretty honest in his reviews, I find. I think he's very fair and warranted. I think the other... Well, I was actually going to bring up... there was one bit of merch that came out the other day, not from the Bulldogs, but from the retro jersey. It was a bit of a train wreck.
Yeah.
So he put up a video sort of saying... What was it? The 98
So they did the
1999?
1998 jersey, which is like pretty iconic with the Paul Carriage game. And they dropped it. And the V just wasn't low enough at all. And it was like... I think it was like the wrong shade of blue and it just didn't look anything like the original. When they posted it up, I went into a panic attack of thinking, how does this Bulldogs jersey that I've never seen before exist? Like, what am I missing? Because I just know every jersey. I was like, what is this? But it turns out they just completely screwed it up.
And off the back of that, they took it out of the line. Are they redoing it or have they just canned it?
I think they may have just canned it, so I feel a little bit bad. But, like, do it properly.
Yeah, but at least they're respecting the fans, which I like. Because if you're going to do that shit, do it properly.
Yeah.
And get some fans in to help you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up Paul Carriage. My mates, when we go out, if someone has a shocker, like we'll call him Paul Carriage for the week.
It really was just one of the all-time bad arvos, eh?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Fucking, yeah, poor bugger. Shout out Paul Carriage. I'm sure he's tuning into the show this week.
Absolutely.
Upsets this week. Now, you've been a bit hit and miss with your upset calls.
Yeah.
I know you're a rugby league dreamer. I think we need a bit more of rugby league realist this weekend. So what have you got for us?
Look, I sort of missed the boat on the dream with Para last week. So that was one I left going. But I did go from 2 from 8 in round 1 to 6 from 8. So we just sort of had to get back
Huge
on the
bounce
board.
back.
Yeah, massive bounce back.
Yeah.
Still not where we want to be. We're chasing excellence, chasing perfection. But this week, some of the dreaming that pops out.
Just before you do, who did you get wrong last week?
So I had...
So the Knights or Manly?
No, I had Knights.
Good man.
I had the Raiders.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I missed the Raiders and I missed the Eels. So I was sitting there, 0 from 2 going, fuck.
Yeah, 2 from 10 on the season.
Yeah, two from 10 in the season. And then it was all blue skies from there. So what about you?
Yeah, I think I went 5 or 6 from the weekend. I think I might have got 5 in the end.
Who'd you miss?
I missed... Who did I miss? I would have missed Para. I took the Raiders. I took Souths. And then I think I tipped it right from there on because I had Newcastle, I had the Finns. But yeah, those first 3, pretty grim. Waz seemed to be the real deal to me, my friend.
That Tanner Boyd kicking game is one of the best kicking games I've seen in a long time.
I remember an interview years ago that Graham Arnold did. When the Socceroos are at their peak and all that sort of shit. Did an interview with Graham Arnold and they were talking about, different guys in other sports. And I remember he said the best ball striker he's seen in the NRL in his time around clubs and everything, because he used to do a bit where he'd bounce around, was Tanner Boyd. This is when he was like a Titans hooker.
Wow.
Picked out Tanner Boyd, so pretty special.
Well, Graham picked it a mile away. That was absolutely brilliant from him. So, yeah. Anyway, for upsets this round, first one I'll come out with is I'm taking the Roosters to beat the Panthers. Now, obviously that's mainly fan-based, but
Yes.
I do think that if our edges defend closer to what they did in the week just gone, and I think if Teddy can get the footy through the middle, a few offloads going from Gus and Phil White. The thing that's hard, though, is the way that we will beat the Panthers is off the back of playing like an offload brand, which normally leads into more errors if you get it wrong. So I'm not confident on that, but I do think we can give it a crack, especially with Robson back in at 9, big in, and Cogger out as well. I think will hurt their chances a little bit, but that's the first one.
The Sunday that just went by, Sunday the 14th of March, was the 1 year anniversary of the Roosters beating the Panthers at $11 in that game last year.
That was
Crazy upset.
one of the biggest in our history, if not the biggest in our history.
Right up there with them. Right up there with them. All right, so you got your team to beat the Panthers.
Yeah,
Fucking
but
shock me.
As I said, though, fan base there.
I would have been upset if you didn't pick that.
I reckon also, and this game I'm very interested to see because the words that come out of my mouth could absolutely age like a bag of dicks, or I might be the smartest guy in football.
You seem like a bag of dicks guy to me.
Hey,
You seem like a bag of dicks guy to me.
I'm rocks or diamonds, and rocks are boring.
Don't get
so
me
yeah,
started on rocks and diamonds.
bag of
I've
dicks or
already had one
diamonds.
hissy fit this week. I will have another. Know that.
Yeah, well, look, I think the Tigers can beat the Rabbitohs. It's hard, though, because I think you watch that game from the week just gone, and then the Tigers' defence was problematic at different points. But what's hard, and, if you're up in a game by sort of 30 points and you switch off, it's never a good sign. But there is part of me that goes, it's so hard to gauge because they switched off, but they're up against, respectfully, a tyre fire. So, you're thinking, fuck, well, how do you read this? The one thing that I took away from the Tigers game, though, was they're fit across the park.
Yeah.
They're noticeably fit. And Souths aren't. Souths are super talented and they've got a lot of points in them. But I think if Souths come out, blow them off the park early, wouldn't shock me at all. But if the Tigers can get into a bit of a contest here, the longer the game goes on, I think there's points late. So
It is one thing I am becoming a little bit concerned with South Sydney, and I understand the last game they played, it had the AJ celebration like that, but just their fading in and out of games,
yeah,
is still a big concern for me. There's a number of teams like that, but South Sydney, just with the squad they've got right now, I think they can win a comp if they put it all together. Just got to be playing for 80 minutes, though.
Yeah, and you will get that early in the season, but Souths have sort of become known for that last few rounds. You're going to have Humphreys back at 7 too. His first game back in a few weeks, coming off that suspension. Skelton into the centres for May, so change there, but I thought he was great on the weekend when he came on, finished that try off, but, centre's obviously different. He'll have his work cut out for him.
That right centre spot obviously marking up against Trell this week as well. Big
Correct.
test. I'm interested to see whether Skelton plays centre or if they put Taruva in there. I reckon there's a good chance that could occur.
That they'll move to
reckon.
River late. Okay.
I mean, whoever it is, I don't feel great about it if I'm honest, but I don't know. Skelton in the centre seems like a big ask for me.
Well, I think a lot of South's success this year, or lack thereof, will depend on the left edge, whether it be points scored or points leaked.
Yes.
Look, the way I see that game playing out, two different scenarios. Either Souths come out early, get on top, stay on top, or Tigers get into a grind, win it late. I think the Dragons can beat the Eels. Obviously, the score didn't flatter them Saturday night.
Yeah, but it wasn't a scoreboard, didn't do it justice, I don't think.
At all.
Yeah.
I think until, they lost Cookie and Gutho at different points, at a crucial point, actually. And those guys were instrumental in anything that looked dangerous from them.
Yeah.
Atkinson, Flano, excuse me, they both went down at different points. So, you throw a little back in here to this side. I like them. I think the way that they play will cause Eels a lot of trouble. I said the other day, Eels look really dangerous. Whenever a second row gets caught at marker, normally there's a line break off the back of it. So if Cookie and Gutho can sniff around the ruck, I think they can get into this game and really make him pay.
I think Jacob Little is an enormous in. Cookie's been
Massive.
great for the first 2 weeks, but you don't want him going the distance in those. Bringing Jacob Little in will make a huge difference. I think the other thing with this game too, on about even this morning, we're talking about it with Rando, meant to be a bit of rain out there. I just think rain, boring game plan, Dragons, they're happy to do it for 80 minutes. I'm not convinced Parramatta are.
No, and I think, Para love sort of the highlight reel games at the moment. Excuse me again.
Dragons. A bit of the Tim Williams about you over there.
Yeah, I know. I'm sounding a bit like Darren Lockyer if I'm not careful, so I just got to keep clearing that throat. But I think the Dragons, they love this shit weather, that sort of time slot. I think they're up for it. So, yeah.
I thought there was a chance you might throw a Brisbane Broncos at us.
Sorry, I did leave that out. I think I am back in the Broncos as well. Yeah.
Huge.
So,
Talk to me why.
again, this round will probably define my tipping career for the short-term future, however it goes. The Storm laid on a lot of points late. Suafolongo, sensational.
Yep.
And we know, there are other spine players, what they're capable of. But watching the game live, and I said it in my notes, I think the Dragons had them by the balls until those injuries. Like, I think they were right in there, and, it wasn't just Gutho and Cookie going off that cost them the game. Like, you obviously had that sewer offload, and there was a few other things that sort of went pear-shaped for them. But they weren't home and hosed here, and I think the Broncos need this win. The other thing I want to just point out too, I wonder if there's a bit of showmanship from Madge here with the way he's named this side. Can I throw something at you? Bit of a rugby league conspiracy theory.
I love a tinfoil hat in rugby league.
Well, strap in for this one. So he's named Anderson.
Yeah.
Right.
Welcome to the Supercoach draft team, by the way, Granderson.
Dropped Shibasaki to the bench, or apparently. Now, was it round one we saw the Storm absolutely rail that edge with Pezzett and Kelly. Now, they obviously knew Pezzett inside out, and they made that obvious. They made it clear, and they executed on it. I wonder, off the back of a couple of problematic or, just substandard performances from Shibasaki defensively, if he's thrown Anderson in named so that the Storm plan to attack Grant Anderson, knowing him, he's been down there in their system. And then on game day, shock horror, does he drop back to the bench and Shibasaki ends up back at centre?
I think some grass needs to be touched, my friend. I think you're in too deep.
Yeah, you reckon?
I think you're in way too deep.
You reckon?
I've been saying it for a while. Shibasaki, an unbelievable season, fairy tale stuff. Defensively, there are so many fucking issues there. It's insane. I think this has been coming for a long time. I think that in that grand final, if Reece Walsh doesn't make some unbelievable defensive plays, the Shibasaki story changes very quickly. I get where you're coming from. I personally think Grant Anderson is a fucking good footballer.
He's a great player. No.
First time I saw him, I didn't think he was a first grader. I wasn't convinced he was a cup player. I think he's improved out of fucking sight. I think he's going to be a bit of a match guy. So I get your thinking.
Well, the main thing for my thinking is Shibasaki's still at 17. Like, are you going to burn a guy on your bench? Like, they've named him at number 17. Now, again, maybe I do need to touch some grass. But to name him at 17, like, what? You're using him as an edge back rower? Is that just a random thing now that he's named at 17? Does it not matter?
I'm not sure how much I read into that nowadays. Okay. I understand the logic once again, but I don't personally, if I was a coach, who's 17, 18, 19, that wouldn't mean shit to me.
You wouldn't think so.
I would also assume, mate, realistically, Adam Reynolds has been ruled out of this game. Ben Hunt's going to get a halfback. I assume that means that Blake Moser comes onto the bench.
Yep.
So you're going to use Blake Moser, you're going to use Ben Talty, Oblix Tafa. You got one more spot there between Shibasaki and Piakura. I would assume with Xavier Willison playing on an edge, I can't see him going the distance, playing 80 minutes there. I'd be surprised if he does. I would say Brendan Piakura will return in jersey play 18. Yeah,
he's in jersey 18. Yeah.
I don't read into the who's 17 whatsoever all that much.
Okay.
It is something though that I want to watch with coaches, how they, because I think for some coaches it might matter. I think Parramatta's an interesting one this weekend. They've known Jack DeBellin in jersey 18. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's something in that. I don't think there will be with Madge though.
Right. Yeah. I find it interesting if they're dropping Shibasaki for his defence. I thought they might have just dropped him. You know what I mean? As opposed to carrying him as a backward. But look, read into that what you will. I think that the Broncos, they need this win to shut some noise up, which is crazy because they're the fucking defending premiers. And I get they're 0-2.
Yep.
I think they need this win though. I think just to relieve some pressure, they need this. I think Storm will try and go at Ezra quite hard after last week. Like that obviously worked quite well for Para. But I think if the Broncos can just hold the pill, it's that same old story. If they complete high, I think they can win this game.
I will say this with Brisbane. I agree. I think they need a win, but I also think, mate, they're just one of those teams. I don't know how much they'd give a fuck right now about all the noise.
Oh, they wouldn't.
I don't think it'll impact them all that much. I think I'm looking at the Cowboys. I think that noise is impacting them massively. Manly, I think it's rattled the shit out of them. I don't think this Broncos team, because, mate, at the end of the day, the noise is I don't think anyone in their right mind is actually looking at Madge going after winning a comp. He's 2 games down against Penrith, and then last week was a pretty disappointing loss, obviously. But I don't think we're going to talk about it soon. Coach is under pressure. I don't think he's under pressure. I really don't.
I don't either. I've also said, like last year, a lot of people in rugby league media went really hard at him.
Yep.
And it fucking aged like milk. And, a lot of people, it's very hard to sort of admit that they're wrong.
Yep.
Difference with this situation is the narrative is, he works him too hard. They win the comp. You have Walshy there after the game going, we love Madge. Like, he works as hard, but, look what happens. We win a comp. Everyone shuts the fuck up for a second. Then you get Payne Haas signing with South, and all of a sudden it's not, I was wrong. It's, here we go.
Yep.
Yeah, you won the comp, but is there something here? And Pat Carrigan says something about going to PNG when he's 40, and all of a sudden that's got more airtime now because who's pushing that? The guys that fucking bagged the shit out of Madge last year. And I said it the other day. I don't think we can judge the Broncos until the end of the year.
Yep.
Because if you judged them on fucking round 16 last year, you wouldn't have had them anywhere near the ballpark of potentially finals, let alone being the premiers. Yep. So, I don't think he would give a flying fuck.
I also think the reality is with Brisbane, 80% of the time when there's noise coming out of Brisbane, something happens. A journo with half a fucking brain in their head walks straight up to Gordy, puts a mic in his mouth. And Gordy will say it every single time he does it. I think he's actually next door in the bar and hope he doesn't reach in and beat the living shit out of me. But it's the same. Like, it's like in the early 90s, 2000s, if you wanted a soundbite about Wayne Bennett, you go to Steve Renoff and he'll bag him. I think Talos has just sort of become that guy for the Broncos. I'm sitting there watching him give an interview the other day talking about it. Like, he's literally got his Titans hat on. He's an owner of the Gold Coast Titans. He's been off the Broncos for years. I think there is a lot of just agenda in these things that the media knows. It's Brisbane. It gets clicks. We know who are the people to go to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think Gordy is as dumb as we all think. I think he knows this is how I keep myself in the realm, realistically.
Yeah, and I think there's also an aspect there. Like, he obviously runs quite deep with Kevy. Like, they're
Yes,
very, very
100%.
close. And I think he would feel quite deeply about how they handled that whole thing. But I think, less about Gordy, more so about some of the other journos that really went hard at Madge. Like, the only way that they were going to be wrong last year, it happened.
Yeah.
He won the comp out of fucking nowhere.
Nowhere. Yeah.
And there was 3 games in a row where people went, fuck, they look tired. Here we are. They're falling off the cliff and they just refuse to go. So, yeah, interesting watch there.
What about my upset that I like this week? I kind of like your Dragons call. I'm semi on board with that. Outside of that, I'm going in the other direction in all of those, I think. The one that I like is the Titans. They are playing 6:15 Sunday, Queensland o'clock up there. I like them this week. Jaden Campbell back in. I think that'll give them a little boost. I have just seen nothing at any point from the Cowboys that fills me with any confidence whatsoever. At least the Titans last week, they played with a little bit of ticker. At least they defended. That's all I fucking needed to see. If you have a look at the tries that were scored in that game, I think Hamiso scored off a kick. There was one off a short drop out. At least they showed some ticker in defense for me. Some of the try-saving tackles by Keeney and whatnot, some big plays. I like the Titans to beat the Cowboys. I also think, to some extent, they're playing within themselves still. I find it interesting. Tino's playing 45 minutes. Mo's playing 35 minutes. I think this is a game that's a must-win one for both of them. I like the Titans going up there with Jaden Campbell back in. What are your thoughts?
I have them as well. I actually didn't even think of it as an upset. I think they led for about 80% of that game. They'd be very disappointed to have lost that game. I thought they probably were the better side for the vast majority of it.
Yep.
Without taking anything away from the Dolphins. Like, obviously, if you win the game, you win the game. But this week, the only thing for me is if it's a shootout, I think the Cowboys are a chance because they've got points in them.
Yep.
But
I think if you're the Titans, though, you have to go up there with an attitude. This is not a fucking shootout. I don't care how ugly it is, how grim it is.
Yep.
It is. That's the one thing we are not getting into. We are making the Cowboys bring a fucking spoon to a shootout, realistically.
Yeah, which I think, if you watch the game from last week, that was so much better than that like the week before against the Sharks. I think it was unfortunate that they came up against the Sharks round one because just while we're on the Sharks, I think the way they played against Penrith the other night, they fucking flog essentially every other team.
I tend to agree with you. Yep.
So, they came up against a side that's settled, been together for years. They're a new side and didn't show up that day, but on the weekend, they were so much better.
Yeah. I think just on the Sharkies as well, I mentioned on Bloke this week, I don't take too much away from that game outside of, okay, maybe the Sharkies are that tier below again. The thing I worry about, mate, is that, I said on Bloke the other day, the Sharks, they don't play Penrith again this year. And they play Melbourne in round 27. That's the only time they play Melbourne. So for me, probably the two premiership favourites at the moment, Penrith and Melbourne. They're only going to get to play Melbourne in the last week when, in my opinion, Melbourne's going to be resting players. So they're going to go into this finals essentially without having a real win against Melbourne or Penrith and without actually playing their top squad since round 2, which I don't love for the Sharkies.
Yeah, I think especially that game the other night, they really got into the grind with Penrith for the most part. There's just a couple of real key moments, like just off the top of my head, Bizza scoring that first try, like real lazy, just sort of, they would have been disappointed to let those points in. And then the Cleary one late in the first half. Outside of a couple of real key moments that the Panthers just nailed, it was essentially just an arm wrestle.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think the score didn't do them justice. I don't think it flattered Penrith because they earned it, but it's interesting what you've just said there. They were close last year against Melbourne, and then they weren't. So how do you sort of build towards that if you're not going to really get a shot at them?
Yeah, I went to that game live down in Melbourne. I walked away from that for the first time thinking I think Cronulla can actually compete with these teams. Like at the end of the day, it was a trick played chip over the top to Pappenhausen that separated those two sides.
Yeah, Kennedy banging the line on the 30.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And I think, it's just a hard one to prepare for. I think there's a good opportunity here or a good chance that the Sharks are better than essentially every other team outside of those two.
Yes.
Maybe the Roosters on their day.
Yep.
But
Brisbane if they're flying, maybe.
If they're flying.
Yeah.
But I think even against those two sides I just said, Chooks and Broncos, you're probably back to Sharks in at the moment.
You probably, the gap will never be as big as it is to Sharkies and Penrith anyway, for me.
That's right.
Between those.
Yeah. Which is, it's scary because you said before, like, they're the tier below. I think it's more like the Panthers are back being a tier above.
They're their own tier, essentially.
Yeah.
Hey, Winst, we didn't talk about your game at all in that. Obviously, your Bulldogs are outsiders this weekend, only slight outsiders. Me and Sowie are going to be on the Hello Sport live stream for that game as well, so looking forward to that. Make sure you come and join us. What are your thoughts on your game, Winst?
Yeah, I'm surprised neither of you. I assumed you just went, $2 isn't a big enough of an upset.
I like the Raiders to come back home and win personally.
I've taken the Dogs.
Yeah.
I think their defense will be too strong.
Yes.
And I think if they can get it, Chris and Savage, they'll get some points there. It's a weird one though, isn't it? Because I think the Bulldogs' defense is so good.
Yeah.
But they've struggled with the points. They've had this whole shit show with Sherry sort of unfolding this week. But I don't know. Tuala in at centre now, new combos. I think it'll be a close game, but I do think that the Dogs will get it done.
Yeah, I think it'll be decided in one or two moments, this game, realistically.
Yeah.
What do you think it wins?
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be very defensive. Like, looking at the line, I think the lines are like 48 and a half.
It's a lot,
like,
yeah.
Taking massive unders there for sure.
Yeah.
I think, Dogs defense, I think Raiders are pretty, they conceded 40 last week, but I feel like they're typically a decent defensive side, especially if Tomoko comes in for Sasangi.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. But I think, if we come out of Canberra having lost by 6 or less, I won't be shocked, but I think we're good enough to beat them. And we're coming off a big extended break off the back of Vegas. I don't know if that'll be good or bad for the boys, but Raiders haven't played at home yet. They went Brookvale to New Zealand. They've been all over the place. I think it's a good chance for the Dogs to come in and just ambush them.
Yeah. I was on Triple M with Luke Keary last week, and I mentioned to him, I go, it's interesting Canterbury, they got the bye straight after Vegas, so they haven't played again in footy in 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And I sort of went, fuck, it's a bit shit for them that they've then got 25 weeks with only 2 buys in there. And Kez straight away went, no, huge advantage. I'd rather that. He goes, mate, when we got back from Vegas, we were just spaced out for 10 days and we couldn't have played rugby league when we came back, realistically. He reckons it'll be a huge advantage for Canterbury to have that time off. Unfortunately, that time off has been bombarded with headlines and everything. It's crazy. But I also do think that's the reality with Canterbury now is that, and I think it's to your advantage and your disadvantage depending on the situation, but something like this happens where it's a disgruntled player reportedly, and you've got Gus on Twitter, you got Jimmy next door, you got Mace on levels. Like, you just hear this array of voices, which I think can be an advantage in handling certain situations. But I think it can also be a disadvantage as far as distraction and just keeping the talk alive for longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing, back on the Raiders, surely, like, does Tomoka come in?
I don't know what's going on here. Timmy reckons that it's just because he had an injury in the off-season, he's coming back. But I think defensively there was a lot of issues there last year with Matty Timoko. So I'm not entirely sure. I find it bizarre that I'm living in this bizarro world where Stephen Crichton's got Simi Sasungi this week, and I think Simi's actually going to be okay. Like, from where he's come from in the last 3 years or so is insane.
Well, I was going to say, when you said that before, Vince, like, Sasungi cannot be the one that makes way. I've been so blown away by him in the first 2 rounds. Like, if he was at a Sydney club or a Brisbane club, I feel like he'd be getting way more raps.
But if he was at a Sydney club, they would have dropped him 3 years ago. They wouldn't have stuck with him like Sticky has.
Like what Sticky has, yeah.
Mate, there was a game last year, I think he had 2 years ago, he had 12 missed tackles.
Yeah. Yeah, but then also...
You've only got 80 minutes to do that. It's a fucking good achievement. Yeah. Crazy.
That was at centre, I imagine, too.
Well, actually, he probably didn't have 80 minutes to do it. He probably had about 25 minutes to do it. Crazy. And I remember sitting there, because I had him in my fucking Supercoach team on my extended bench, and Tim bullied me for like 6 weeks straight, going, what the fuck are you doing? And I asked myself the same question, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. And now he's a world beater. It's insane.
Well, that game he played at 6, was it? He played 6,
Yeah,
I think, when Strange
was ruled out.
Fuck,
Yeah.
man. Like, that was my first sort of real moment clocking who he was. But the first 2 rounds, I think he's been great. Like, yeah, it'd be interesting to see him go up against Critter. It's a good test.
Yeah, huge test. Okay, now we've got a new thing we're going to throw in here each week, a little game of Guess Who. So we've got Winst, who's gone through and organised this for us. Essentially, Winston's going to have a player. We're going to take turns asking questions about who the player is. They are yes/no answers. And if we want to have a guess at who it is, that's your question for that round. So you say, is it blah? Winston will say yes or no. Then we move on to the next person. I think we'll keep a weekly tally here.
Yes, we will. And
you see how we go.
You get 2 guesses max, right?
You get 2, is it blah? Once you fuck that up, you're gonski. So if you fuck up your second one, you're kind of leaving it open to the other person to go for eternity until they get it.
Okay.
I like it. Excited?
Let's do
Winst?
Let's
So we just start by asking?
Yeah, do we need like a coin toss of who's going first? Or
I'll
what?
give you the new ball. You can take it away. You got first question at him.
Sorry, just before we start.
Oh, sorry. Unless you want me to have first question, I'll give you the choice, actually. If you think there's any strategy to it.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
This is a bit weird because if you want to count this as my first question, you can. Is it assumed it's a current player or it can be for anyone?
I think it can. I'm under the understanding it could be anyone.
It could be anyone. So
Yes.
am I. Is that fair?
Anyone.
Fantastic.
But it still could be a current
Dumb
player.
first
That could be-
question, by the way.
Could be.
Dumb first question. Take it away.
Are they a rep player?
Yes.
Are they still playing today?
No.
Did they play for Queensland?
Yes.
Did they play for the Bulldogs?
Yes.
Fuck's sake. Couldn't know himself. Did they play in the backs?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. That rules out someone. I think
That rules out the 2 that I was willing to guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit.
I'm going to have my first guess. Am I Willie Tonga?
No.
Rattled.
I'm gonna have my first guess. Am I Ben Barber?
No.
Didn't play Origin, did he?
I was trying to remember if he was in like
He
the
was in
extended squads
camp
and shit.
once.
Yeah, if he was in
Okay,
camp or
so
some shit.
we've got one guess left each.
Fuck. Okay, this is
Okay. Did I play for the Kangaroos?
No.
Did I win a comp somewhere else,
What do you mean by somewhere else?
like at a different club?
Outside of the Bulldogs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take a shot here.
Huge.
Queensland, won a comp somewhere else, played for Canterbury. Oh, didn't play for the Kangaroos. Oh no, that leaves me in all sorts again. Did I? So I'm an outs. I'm a back. Is that what we said, or an outside back? We said
The
back.
question was, did I play in the outside backs?
In the outside
The
backs,
answer was
okay.
yes.
All right.
That's interesting.
Yes. Okay. My question is: was I mostly a centre?
No.
Does that rule out? Shit.
I'm a little bit puzzled here.
Yeah, because I had someone who.
And we said not a current player, didn't we?
Is that right?
That was
Yeah,
my
not a
question.
current player.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Shit. Did they play for a Queensland club?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I play more than 5 Origins?
No.
Niche. Okay. And you said they weren't primarily a centre, right?
Yeah, the question was, have I played most games at centre? And the answer was no.
So it still could be this guy that I'm thinking, but I'm not willing to take my last shot at it yet.
And sorry, we know he played for Canterbury and we know he won a comp elsewhere.
One in comp elsewhere.
Yes.
Did he play any footy in the spine positions?
You're really stitching yourself up with the questions. Yes, he did.
Okay, well,
That could be a huge help or a massive disadvantage.
it's just
I don't know if that helps us in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
You said he didn't play he didn't play the majority of his footy at centre, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
Did I win a premiership for the Bulldogs?
No. It's a big cheesy
Are
grin.
you taking a guess here? This is your last one?
Am I David Stagg?
He's got a David Stagg.
Fucking
I
oath.
thought about him before. There was something that I thought ruled David Stagg out.
Fucking oath. Because I was in my head, I was like,
Well done.
"Fuck, that was half stuff on that." Because I was like,
what did we get? Fuck, I thought David Stagg a few minutes ago. Then for some reason I thought, no, that can't be him.
the centre thing threw me because I thought he
Yeah.
said
This is the
that
centre
he
thing
didn't
that-
play the majority of his footy in centre, and then in my head I was like, it can't be him, but I don't know why I would have thought that because he was obviously mainly a back rower.
What did Stagg do? Won the 06 premiership, Brisbane?
Yes.
Yeah, he's on the bench.
correct.
Yeah.
He played 24 games at centre, and then the spine question, he played 12 games at 5'8" and 1 game at hooker.
Hooker.
But then obviously played 85 games at lock, 58 games off the bench, 44 at back row. So very much a forward.
Tim Williams' all-time favourite player.
Really?
David Stagg. Yep.
Fucking
Very good.
oath.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm not happy for you, but well done.
Absolute ambush. I was
I will
not
be
confident.
Back next week. No, that. Pick a better player, Winston, for fuck's sake. All right. Our next one we're going to go through is coaches that are under pressure. I've got it into 4 categories. No pressure at all, safe, not safe, and then under serious pressure, Barney Rubble, looking over the shoulder kind of categories. So 1 to 4. We're going to go through each coach, and I sort of just want you to put it, each coach, into one of those 4 categories. I don't really want too much explanation. I just want to know where you think they're sitting. Do you want to go from the top of the ladder or the bottom? What do we want to do here?
I'm easy. Whatever you want
Winston,
to do.
make a call.
Go bottom.
Bottom. Okay. Spicy. Okay. Josh Hannay from the Gold Coast Titans. I have got him in the safe category.
Yeah, I've got him under no pressure at all in terms of there's pressure to win for every coach, but in terms of his job security, no pressure at all.
Winston.
I'd go safe. I don't think any Gold Coast coach has no pressure on them ever because they just suck.
Yeah.
Thanks for not holding back. Todd Payton, North Queensland Cowboys. For me, Toddy unfortunately is the mascot of under pressure bottom tier for me.
Yeah, I've got him in the 5th category. He's in all sorts, Todd, unfortunately.
I'd
Winston.
almost make a new category for him that's even lower than under pressure.
Yeah, he's in some
the
curry,
most.
Toddy Payton. Yeah. You never want to wish it on anyone, but someone's got to be in that seat realistically. Michael Maguire, Brisbane Broncos. I've got him safe. I'm not going to say no pressure at all because I think if they lose another 3 games, it could change suddenly. But I think he's in safe.
Yeah, he'd be in the safe. Like, there's zero world he gets sacked or anything like that, I reckon. But there's pressure. So
Winst,
Yeah, safe as well.
safe. Shane Flanagan, St George Illawarra Dragons.
safe.
I think he's safe as well.
Fuck, I reckon he's doing a mad job. I reckon he's overachieving.
He's doing a lot with what he has.
Yeah, it's just at a level where you're never going to get to a point where people give you your flowers unless they make the 8, which, you know.
I also think he's got a squad realistically that if I'm him, I'm going, find someone who can do this with them.
Yeah, I agree.
I
100% agree.
don't think there's other guys out there realistically. Winst, thoughts?
Yeah, safe as well. Also, just like how good their young forwards and stuff are going, where he can sort of use that as leverage if, you know, there was a meeting where they're sort of talking about his future. Yeah, I think he's safe.
Anthony Seibold, Manly Seagulls. I have got him sitting next to Toddy Payton in our 5th or 6th tier.
Yeah, I reckon they're sitting at the table together.
Yeah, I think the thing that's worrying for Seibold is I think he's been somewhat safe the last few years. I think Jason King walking in there is not a guy to fuck around. I think he'll be willing to make this call if they don't turn this around. ASAP. Winst?
Yeah, I think it's like Toy Story 3 with him and Todd Payton just going towards that flame where all the toys are holding hands and they're next to each other.
Ridiculous. All right. Jason Riles, Parramatta Eels. I think he is safe at the moment, pushing into the no pressure almost for me.
Yeah, I think everyone would have had him in the top category prior to round 1.
Yep.
He then would have fallen into the 3rd category, and then I think he's sort of sitting back in that safe category now.
Winst?
Yeah, I think safe, but just below the no pressure.
Yep. Ricky Stewart, I think no pressure.
I can't see a world. I think he walks away from Canberra. I don't think it happens the other way around.
Yes.
I'm
I'm not convinced it'll ever happen.
No, similar to Flano. I think he's doing a sensational job given you got the barrier of having to try and get people to live in fucking Canberra, respectfully. If you're not from there, like that's a big move. Paying overs and, you know, what he did a few years ago when they made the grand final, like tapping into that English pathway. Unbelievable. So, yeah, safe.
Winst?
Yeah, I'd say no pressure. I just can't see him leaving Canberra. Or like Canberra letting him go.
Yeah. Trent Robinson at the Roosters. I'm somewhere between, I think he's at the absolute bottom of the safe tier for me. What are your thoughts?
I reckon he's sort of like straddling, sort of like just, you said Toy Story. If you imagine the game Twister, when someone's in like a weird position, if you had like a bar between the safe and unsafe, I reckon like Robbo's sort of like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
One hand, 1 foot in each camp.
And I think 6 great weeks could make saying unsafe look ridiculous. 6 bad weeks could make looking safe look ridiculous as well.
Well, I think it's similar to the Broncos. I think it'll be one of those things. He could have the fucking best year of all time. If they get knocked out 20-0 in the prelim, he'll be just as unsafe as what we think, you know?
Yeah. I think realistically, Robbo's achieved a lot there. It's been a long time, though. And as I've said before, it's not us setting the standard. Your club sets the standard of we win comps. Teddy's not getting any younger. The other one that I think we need to talk about is Politis isn't getting any younger. He's going out with another comp, I think. I think he's going to be there for. I think that's a little underappreciated factor that people are sleeping on a little bit.
Just quickly before we throw to you, Wince, who would replace him, you reckon?
Boris.
No, sorry, as in Boris will replace Politis. Who would replace Robbo? Because the thing, if you're going to sack someone, is there a chance Fitzy comes back?
I'd be interested to see that. Checker's in the building as well.
Yes, he is.
I wouldn't be ruling out Checker. I'm interested to see if Checker goes for any of these new jobs as well, PNG. I could see potentially him making a play for that as well. So I think Checker's got a lot more standing in the game than what people realise.
Yeah, people rate him very highly.
Yep.
And Roosters took a punt on Robbo when he was essentially, he'd done some stuff in the Super League, but he was a no-one in terms of the NRL coaching. So you can see him doing it again.
Yeah. Where do you have Robbo, Winst?
Yeah, at the very bottom of safe. I think he's a bad month or 2 of footy away from not safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I said, I think he's a good month away from being safe as houses too.
Yeah, 100%.
Christian Wolf at the Dolphins. I think he's safe, I feel.
Yeah, safe, for sure.
Winst?
Yeah, I'd put him at the top of safe.
Top of safe. Yep. Wayne Bennett at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I think there's no pressure on Wayne personally because he's Wayne.
Yeah, I don't think he wouldn't have been under pressure potentially.
I think it's like the
Ever.
inverse of Shane Flanagan. Shane Flanagan would sort of say to the Dragons, well, if it's not me, who the fuck's going to get this much out of this side? I think Wayne would look at South and go, hand this mob over to someone else. Let me know how you go.
Yeah. Also, it's funny. I was thinking then, as I said, I don't think he's ever been under pressure. He's obviously been sacked before. No one was sitting there going, fuck, what's he going to do?
Yep.
Like, you weren't going to walk into, your local cafe and he's your barista. Like,
Yep.
he was always going to fucking be coaching somewhere else 5 seconds later. So,
Yes.
yeah, zero pressure.
Winst.
Yeah, there's no pressure on Wayne Bennett.
Craig Fitzgibbon at the Cronulla Sharks. I think he's probably in the no pressure column.
Yeah, I reckon he's like top of the no pressure. I reckon what he's done with the roster he's got there, that's why when I heard the other day someone float the idea of him coming to the Chooks, like, fuck, imagine what he'd do with that roster. Look what he's done there. And that's not to say they're a bad roster at Cronulla, but everyone knows what the Roosters got. So, yeah.
I think if Fitzy doesn't get to a grand final in the next 2 years, it could change a little bit. I think they've been great, but I think at some point Cronulla's got to want to actually go to the next level. Whether Fitzy's the guy to get them there or not, we'll have to wait and see. I also think that roster's going to change a lot over the next few years with the salary cap.
Yeah, which is, it's interesting to see. I think he's overachieved with that roster, to be honest.
Yep.
I think he's got the absolute best out of them. And there is a very possible reality that they're just not good enough to contend with the other sides in each year. So, yeah, I think he's pretty safe.
Winston?
Yeah, I think he's in no pressure. It'll be interesting to see as that roster changes. If they keep not making grand finals, then I think it's a different conversation in a couple of years. But I think that's like at least 2 years away.
Cameron Serraldo at the Bulldogs. I think there's no real pressure on Serraldo, personally.
No pressure at all.
Winst?
Yeah, he's signed till 2031. I don't think there's any pressure on him. Not
Ben?
that contracts mean anything, to be fair. But
Yes, yeah. But I think he's in a great spot, Serraldo. Benji Marshall at the West Tigers. I think I've got him in the safe category right now.
I think he's safe, and I think he's on the way up.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, they just re-signed him on a long-term deal when they didn't have to. So there is probably an argument that he's in the top tier potentially.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got him in the safe sort of realm. Winst?
Yeah, I've got him safe, and I think if Tigers can push, I don't even think they have to make the 8, but if they just push towards the 8, then I'd have him in no pressure.
All right. We've got from the Newcastle Knights, Justin Holbrook. I think he is probably right now in the top tier, realistically. First year arriving at the club. New players arriving there. He's had a good start, but he's had injuries. He's almost now got an excuse if they struggle for a little bit. But I think he's done a tremendous job so far. He's ticked every box, and you're not going to bring Holbrook to the club and sack him within 2 years, in my opinion. So I think he's sort of at the top.
Yeah, I agree. My theory as well on that, like, did you see on the weekend, like, KP actually pulled up a bit lame when he was supporting Best.
Yes.
Like, that was actually when he sort of did it initially. Yep. He then threw a ball about 2 minutes later and went, fuck that, and got off. I think they were being pretty conservative with him. And I think even the time that they're saying, based on what it looked like, I reckon they're really, like, being careful with him. And I reckon it's going to take a lot of pressure off them, regardless of how they go in the next month. Everyone's seen what they were capable of doing with Brown and KP at the helm there. So if they're gone for a month, 5 weeks, regardless of, if they win a few games, great, they're coming back. If they don't, they're coming back, and you've seen what the product is. So, yeah, I reckon he's in the top.
Winst?
Yeah, I think right now there's no pressure.
Ivan Cleary, no pressure at all.
Absolutely fuck all.
I don't think he knows what pressure is. He's probably forgotten what it is.
Yeah, he might be the most comfortable guy in the world, just quietly. Speaking of comfortable guys, I'm going to wrap the next two up in the same bundle. I've got the Warriors and the Melbourne Storm. I think both these coaches are top tier.
Yeah, zero pressure.
Winst?
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, I think both of those two are good to go and locked in. Might revisit that in 6 weeks or so.
That'd be great.
I'd be keen to look back on it. I do hope for all these coaches' sake they are all still coaching those teams in 6 weeks. But if I set the over-under at 1.5 coaches sacked in the next, let's say 8 weeks, over-under.
I'm going kitchen sink on over. I think there's 2 that we spoke about that are at odds, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah.
But that's just what it is.
Yeah, I think it might be 2 as well. I think as well there's an element of, I don't know who the next best guy out there is, but you want to get the next best guy, not the second best guy. Yeah. And make your move. Winston, what do you reckon, mate? 1.5, over, under.
What'd you say, 8 weeks?
Yep.
Yeah, I like one, but obviously if it's over under, I'm going over. I think it's more likely to.
Yeah.
But just because it's 8 weeks, like I think they're both gone by the halfway point of the season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sort of going down a similar avenue as you boys as well there. All right. Our next topic we're going to touch on. We had a question sent in during the week that I think you, my friend, will absolutely lap the shit out of this one. I can't wait to see how you go. Best cliches about rugby league. What have you got for me? What are some of your favourites? Because I'll tell you what, I think it is. I've known you for your entire life. It's a skill set I didn't quite know you had until about 18 months ago. But you're an encyclopedia for this shit. What do you got for me?
I absolutely despise when you're playing in a game and you're on a team and either you're fucking all over the other side or you're getting absolutely fucking fisted by the other side and someone throws out the chat after a try, it's 0-all. No, it's not. We're behind our try line. It's 64-0. It is not 0-all. I used to fucking absolutely hate that one. That was one that was always, and you know, on the same token, like the guy who throws out on the other side of that, let's say you are up 20-0, and the guy throws out, it's 0-all boys. Like the coaches fucking love him. You know what I mean? Like no one's ever going to lip him for it. All the boys are thinking, fuck up, idiot. You know what I mean? But that's probably the one when you said it just then, I was like, fucking that is the first one that springs to my mind.
Can I jump in? Sorry.
Yeah.
It is so funny that you said that, but then also referenced 64-0 because when I was playing footy, like it might have been, say, under 14s, 15s, that literally happened. We were losing to Mudgee Dragons 64-0 with probably 5 minutes left. And the kid's going like, it's 0-all, boys. It's 0-all. It's like, bro, we're down 64-0. Shut up.
I love there was some Bulldogs post or something a few weeks ago, and there was a heap of people commenting on it, referencing your 64-0 drumming as a kid. And I was like,
Yeah.
how many times has he told this fucking story?
Yeah,
That is
that's right. Yeah,
unreal.
because they were in Mudgee.
Yes.
And I said, that's where I lost 64-0. And then the comments just took it and ran.
How long was the drive to Mudgee for you to play that game?
I lived in Portland, so it was like 90 minutes, but almost pushing 2 hours, and there's nothing in between Portland and Mudgee as well. So it's a long drive home.
And
That's a nudge.
in the moment, how'd you feel when Dickhead said it's 0-all? Were you fired up?
We were all just like,
Did you lift?
Flat. No, there was no lifting. There was no lifting. It was just
Shannon Knoll out there.
I'm pretty sure we talked like shut up.
64-4.
Bro.
Grim. I like the cliches that and I like me and my mates. I'm sure a lot of you guys are the same at home. Use like that you use just in your general life that you bring into. So you know you fuck up a loose carry. I know tomorrow night, Sowie's coming down. We always say when we're playing the pokers, you're getting a little bit of trouble. You know, if a machine's not putting out, it's Sowie's favourite. He goes, keep going down the short side. Double down on the short side. And it's worked unbelievably for us over the years. One of my favourites was in Vegas 3 years ago now. I'm sitting at a table playing poker or something. And Hammy's sitting at the other end of the table, right?
Yeah.
And someone at the table, maybe it was roulette actually. So the thing had started spinning and someone tried to put more chips down and the lady went, no, I can't do that. And as soon as she did, Hammy stood up on a chair and yelled, rock infringement. I fucking pissed myself when he was like, what the fuck? Fucking perfect. So good.
I reckon, yeah, the other one too, when I heard the Hello Sport boys talking about just the idea of like shape. So as someone who's like a fan, and you hear the word shape, it's such an umbrella term. And there's actually shape in everything. Like you think about like how you eat certain foods, how you go about certain social situations. There is like a certain approach to how you do it. There's different sort of ways you can go about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll like throw out shape occasionally, just in passing. And
You're a shapesman.
I'm a shapesman. And no one ever sort of pushes back or goes, what do you mean by that? Even people that aren't necessarily like footy people, you sort of go, oh, yeah, you know, like bit of sauce shape when you're like going for a feed or something. No one ever goes, wait, what do you mean by that? It's always just like, they just run with it, you know?
Do you ever use cliches from other sports or are you mainly just a rugby league guy?
I feel like, yeah, not really, eh? Like, what, do you have other ones?
Oh, I've got a few like cricket ones that I use here and there, like, you know, something that you can say, oh, you know, good line and length. And Hammy's got a good one that he always uses when he's. I said something to him the other day, and he's like, he said something to me like, "Oh, you really hit that one to my forehand." Just like setting someone up, or you know, an alley oop, or one of those things. But I think the footy ones are very, very hard to beat. Like, someone's having a shocker, didn't bring their boots today, had a pool carriage.
The carriage one is just like...
You're going to call in sick a Ruben Wiki. Like, there's a number of very fucking good ones out
The
there.
slang ones are awesome. The one I do use for another sport in NFL, chew clock. Like when you're on Madden, and it throws out chew clock.
Yeah.
There was one time when I was still working as like a vacation care educator.
Yes.
There was maybe 5 minutes
It's a
left
very
until...
technical term for that, but sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Huge.
Aftercare, whatever.
Yeah.
It was like 5 minutes left until like the Christmas break, and I've sort of clocked that one of the kids has had an accident.
Yes.
Would have been my job to clean it up, but I've chewed clock and I've gone and given the most emotional goodbyes to every staff member and student to ensure that it was not my problem. And I left exactly on 3 o'clock. So
Yeah. That's kicking the corners.
oh, that's
That is
right.
Smart footy. That is clock management.
I've then texted my friend who I was working with and said, hey, by the way, have fun with that.
Yeah. You're not versing the visiting team. You're versing the clock by this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Love it. Huge fan. Great question. Any of your other best cliches you've got, chuck them down below. I am very, very keen to hear them. Now, this is one that was thrown in as well, and I think you've got a list here that we're going to go through. The best players from Wooden Spoon teams.
Yes.
I haven't had a brainstorm of this yet. I'm going to sort of do one live here and play off the back of you.
Yeah.
But what have you got for me?
So this one was from Hodgie_47. Shout out to you, brah. And he said bit of dribble as the lead. I don't think it's dribbly at all. I think it's a very, very highbrow, important conversation to have because as I sort of dived in, I sort of did it chronologically and went sort of started last year and worked backwards to have a look at what we were dealing with and uncovered some absolute gems. So last year I thought this was a great start. Gagai and Best were the centre pairing in the last round for the Knights. Now we know that they were ravaged with injuries last year, whatever. They lost 66-10 to Para in the last round.
Yep.
So you think you got 2 Origin centres there essentially, losing
Yes.
66-10
Yep.
with those 2 as your centres is pretty fucked. But that was sort of just scratching the surface. So then went through Api Coruscant, boys. He won back-to-back premierships, then captained back-to-back spoons. The thing that's fucked up about that, I don't remember ever watching the West Tigers when he's been there going, fuck, he's been poor. He's always been good.
He's always been a good player.
He's always been good. One of those years, I checked the last round, he skippered them at halfback. At halfback. So he was another one. You had Jared Hayne won back-to-back spoons in 2012 and 2013. In 2014, he then won the Dally M, broke the Origin drought, and joined the NFL just to top that off. So that's one. And then the other one that I'll finish with here, Joey Johns. So granted, he was injured for a lot of this year in 2005, but in the same year as arguably the most dominant fucking performance we've ever seen at that level, he also won a spoon.
That year, 05?
05.
That year, and look up the stats yourself. I can normally remember these off the dome. JT, he won the Dally M medal with 32 points. Joey had 31. He played 16 games, and his team came last.
Yes.
Fucking unbelievable. And probably the only reason why I didn't get it is because he missed a couple of games because he had to go dominate Origin on one leg.
Yeah. And, the thing that's interesting about that situation, though, is that I always would have assumed that, he played a few games, but he was fucking injured the whole time. How does a team with an immortal playing 16 games come fucking last?
Crazy.
Last, especially when the record's so good with him in there.
Yes.
And with him earning so many points.
Yep.
I know it was under the old Dally M system, but fucking hell. So they were sort of my 4 that jumped out from sort of the last 20 years.
Joey's hard to go past. I think that's probably the pick of the bunch, realistically.
Yep.
I always go back to 2010, I want to say. The big 3 in Melbourne. Wooden Spooners. No points.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
I looked at that as well.
Potentially 3 immortals.
To come 4th.
GI was in that too, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially 4 immortals.
I reckon, and here's one for you, I think that year says more about Melbourne Storm than any of their premierships.
Yes.
Because
they still flew, didn't they?
Well,
Like
they came
on
4th.
wins, yeah.
In terms of points, they came 4th. So, it's easy for people to go, 7 and 9 didn't count, they cheated, and sure. 2010, playing for fuck all points, and they knew early. They weren't told in, 3 rounds out. They essentially played like 70% of the year knowing full well this is for nothing, and they still made a point of technically finishing last, obviously, but they would have finished 4th had they not been stripped of their points. So Yeah, incredible.
One that came to mind for me, because when I read this as like players that were fucking unbelievable in like individual seasons in teams that came last. And I always remember watching that Newcastle Knights side. I think they won 3 wooden spoons in a row. And week in, week fucking out, the 2 best players were the wingers. Dane Gagai was one, and the Ross dog, Nathan Ross.
Ross Dog.
Ross dog was a fucking weapon. Waverley boy too, do you know that?
Waverley, yeah. I had this
I
argument.
think for a couple of months, maybe.
Well, I had this argument with people. They're like, he didn't play first 15. I was like, he did diving or something. He just it was a league he couldn't give a fuck. Like it was just cruising.
Because he had a younger brother, Briggs, I think.
That's a nice rugby league name.
Yeah, Cruz Briggs. I'm sure he was probably in between us actually.
Yeah,
he was
right.
a few years below me. He was like a boxer or something. But yeah, Ross Dog's always one that I go back to. I always look back at that South Sydney side that came back into the comp, and it is just a long list of who the fuck kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in there was one of my favourite players of all time. He wasn't at his best then, but Owen Craigie.
Oh, yes.
Big O. Fucking
Big O.
absolute champion, Owen Craigie. Such a good footballer. Crazy. I think Joey takes the cake, though. I think that's a very astute shout from you.
Well, I think that sort of just shows you how much of a role narrative plays in rugby league.
Yes.
Because he played fucking 16 games. They came dead last. Like, you just wouldn't even... When I think of Joey, I think if he's on the field and you hear people talk about him that played with him and knew him well, it's almost like there's zero chance we lose today.
Yeah.
Let alone walk home with a wooden spoon. So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the year, too, that Newcastle might have started the season without a sponsor or something. I think they wore a blank jersey, and then I think maybe like halfway through the season, Subway might have come on board or something. But
That's
I'm
a
pretty
bloodbath.
sure... Can you look that up, Vince? Was that 05 or 06?
Let me have a look.
It might have been
Yeah, it was
06.
05. You're right.
They started with no sponsor on their
Yep.
jersey.
And like round 12, they start like rolling out
Then
like sandwich ads and shit.
I think
like,
it was
with the
Subway
boys.
that came on board. I think Subway eventually caved, and I'd love to know. It's probably the cheapest sponsorship deal of all time.
You'd
They
imagine.
eventually got on. You'd have to think it would have been cheap as fucking
Cost them a
chips.
6-inch and a cookie.
Favorite cookie from Subway?
Just your meat and potatoes choc chip.
Have you tried the white chalk macadamia?
I have. It's pretty good.
I think it's a bit of a matured taste, dare I say. You might not be there yet, my friend.
Well,
You got a few more winters to get through.
I've discovered Butterboy cookies, so Subway sort of just got the red pen through it.
Yeah, I can't discover Butterboy cookies. Shout out Jeff Athletic. Winston, got any for us? Subway cookies?
I like the rainbow one. I think it's just choc chip, but better.
I knew you'd fucking say that. You fucking child.
I'm
That's
12A.
fucked. That's so shit.
Matches the jersey.
Hate that.
Correct.
All right. Any wooden spoon players that came to mind for you, Winst?
If we want to throw out a bit of Bulldogs dribble,
Love to.
Terry Lamb, 1983, wooden spooners and won the Dally
He won
M
the Dally M, didn't he?
at the Magpies. I think the only player to do it from a wooden spoon side. So arguably better than Joey in that department, you could say. And then in 2008, when the Dogs won the spoon, they had 8 players from the 2004 roster still playing and got the spoon.
8 players from the 04 roster. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Like Andrew Ryan, Hazma Masri, I mean, technically Sonny Bill.
Yeah.
Obviously, he walked out. Willie Tonga, 8 of them.
Yeah, wow.
Luke
Lachlan
Patton.
Lewis as well. Shout out to him.
Yes.
He put in some tough years there at the Dogs.
Yep.
I always like to bring it up whenever I get the opportunity, but Terry Lamb, Dally M 5/8 of the year at one point, 7 in 10 seasons. Should really be spoken about in that top echelon of, as far as like best in his position, 4 premierships, 1 Dally M medal, but yeah, 7 time between 1983 to 1993, Dally M 5/8 of the year.
And you're telling me you won a spoon as well?
Yes, before he came to the Dogs and won the Dally M medal when he got the spoon.
That is absurd behaviour.
Absolutely absurd. Yeah, wild. All right, and also his last game in the NRL, the 1996 grand final that they won.
Ideal.
Fairy tale stuff. You love to see it. Clive Churchill medalist that day was
What, 96?
1996.
Couldn't tell.
Winston?
Are we talking 95?
Yes, we probably are actually.
Because the
now I think
Dogs
about
didn't
it.
win in 96.
Oh, so it was 95, wasn't 96,
Yeah.
was it? That's on
95,
me.
but-
95.
Jim Dimmick.
Jimmy Dimmick, one
Jimmy
of the
Dimmick.
all-time greats.
Terry Lamb robbed.
Robbed?
Super League war politics.
I love that.
There was.
And then Winston was born 15 years later.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely unreal. All right, 1-0 in the Guess Who's.
Fucking oath.
You won't get paid this week. Know that. We will be back with vengeance next week. Winston, pleasure as always. Jump on Instagram, follow Winston, follow Tommy Jeager. What's coming up with you over the next few weeks?
Actually
Anything
going
to
up
watch?
to Coffs Harbour this weekend to do some commentating for the State Cup, which I'm excited to do.
Very
Yeah,
good.
I don't know if I'll put on a rabbit's voice. I'll practice it over the next few days and sort of see how it comes out in captain's
Sorry,
run.
you're commentating?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal. Is there like a live stream or anything for that, or?
I hope so. Yeah, I'll let everyone know what it is. But I've been exploring a few things. Like, do I get like a grey wig and fully try and be a rabbit, or do I just sort of try and bring my own flair to it? We'll see.
I think you've got to bring your own flag.
We'll see. But no, that'll be good.
There's no one better to be than Tom Jeager, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'll probably be a bit disappointed not to be out there playing as well. Wasn't selected, but no, it'll be good to commentate.
You weren't picked.
No,
Yeah, right.
no.
Politics.
What you said before, Winst.
Super League politics. Still a hangover.
I was the Terry Lamb of 50 Shades of Shape and fucking did not get any recognition for it. But that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Well,
No, their loss.
exactly right.
All right. Pleasure as always. We will see you back here next week, Thursday, 3 p.m.